All right, let's jump right into this explainer. I'm taking you through this as a lead investigator reviewing the open questions of what is, honestly, one of the most baffling mysteries of the modern era. It's literally been 2 decades since a 21-year-old nursing student just vanished into the cold winter night. She left behind a wrecked car, a scattered trail of incredibly strange clues, and a 20-year legacy of unanswered questions. Let's get into it.
So why are we looking at this right now? Well, the stakes have literally never been higher for cold case investigators. Just recently, New Hampshire Attorney General John Formella marked the 20th anniversary of her disappearance with a massive public plea for new leads. And alongside this, the FBI just released a brand new 2024 age progression analysis. It's this really striking visual of what she might look like today. The goal here is absolutely clear. Shake loose some new information and breathe life back into this frozen case.
Okay, let's ground ourselves in the basic facts of that night. The date is February 9th, 2004. The location? A dark, winding stretch of Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. It's right here that 21-year-old UMass nursing student Maura Murray crashed her black Saturn sedan into a snowbank. And what happens next? Well, that's the focal point of this entire investigation.
Section 1. The 15-minute window. A vanishing act. Okay, to truly understand this mystery, we really have to look at the incredibly tight timeline of this incident.
Let's walk through this timeline together, because it brilliantly illustrates just how insanely compressed these events were. At 7:27 p.m., a local resident named Faith Westman calls 911 to report a crashed car. Then, between 7:33 and 7:37 p.m., a driver we know as Witness A passes the scene. Fast forward a few minutes to 7:42 p.m. School bus driver Butch Atwood, who actually spoke to Maura at her car and offered help, he makes his own 911 call. And just 3 minutes after that, 7:45 p.m., Officer Cecil Smith arrives on the scene. But when he gets there, the car is locked and Maura is completely gone.
I mean, look at that window. From the moment Butch Atwood left her to the moment the police rolled up, we're talking about a mere fraction of time. Where can someone possibly go in less than 15 minutes on a freezing, snowy rural road? That is the central, almost impossible question that has forced every investigator to actively engage with this mystery for 20 years.
Section 2. Inventorying the evidence. Inside the black Saturn. To figure out where she went, we've got to meticulously inventory the physical clues she left behind.
Now, what's fascinating here is the wildly jarring mix of stuff left in the car. We've got Maura's AAA card, blank accident report forms from a totally different crash she had earlier, printed MapQuest directions to Vermont, and a significant amount of alcohol. See, earlier that afternoon in Mass, Maura emptied her bank account, she withdrew $280 and bought about $40 worth of wine, vodka, and other liquors. But wait, that's not all. She also left behind valuable diamond jewelry and her favorite stuffed animal.
As an investigator, looking at the psychological significance of these specific clues is absolutely crucial. Think about this contrast. On one hand, you have the decision to abandon expensive diamond jewelry. On the other, leaving a deeply personal, comforting item like a favorite stuffed animal. I mean, if she was intentionally fleeing to start a brand new life, why leave the valuables? But if she was just stepping away for a second to hide from the cops, maybe because of the open alcohol in her car, why leave the comforting items she so clearly packed for a reason?
This contradictory evidence naturally leads us to Section 3, interrogating the theories. Official stance versus public investigation. We're going to impartially lay out the facts from both the official police perspective and the widely diverging public investigations.
So, this really illustrates the divide perfectly. On the official side of things, law enforcement tracking dogs actually lost Maura's scent 100 yards east of the crash, just right down the road. This led police to initially suspect she got into another car, and because of that, they focused on a 2-mile initial search radius. But look at the public and private investigator theories. A lot of folks believe she succumbed to exposure or maybe hid out in the back 40. These are huge tracts of unsearched private property nearby. And then you've got true crime author James Renner's controversial theory that she had a tandem driver waiting there to help her escape and start a totally new identity.
Let's zoom in on that exposure theory for a second. There's a highly discussed concept in this case called terminal burrowing. Basically, it's a behavior sometimes exhibited in the late stages of hypothermia, where a person actively seeks out a small, enclosed space to hide. It's a dark thought for sure, but an absolutely vital concept to grasp. It really grounds the popular theory that Maura, maybe intoxicated, maybe panicking about getting a DUI, wandered deep into the dense woods to dodge the police, crawled under a snow-covered log, and tragically succumbed to the elements, which of course would make her remains incredibly difficult to ever find. But guys, here is where the environmental evidence starkly and frustratingly conflicts. On one hand, official reports noted there was up to 2.5 feet of snow on the ground off the roadway, right? And searchers found absolutely zero human tracks leading into the woods near the crash. None. But on the other hand, the police dogs tracked her scent down the plowed road for about 100 yards before it just vanished. This relentless debate always comes back to this. Did she walk farther down the dry road before entering the woods where her tracks wouldn't show, or did she get scooped up by an unknown vehicle?
Now, amidst all this speculation, we really have to look at the family's position. Maura's father, Fred Murray, has publicly stated his firm belief that his daughter was abducted and is dead. He and the family completely dispute any theories of a staged disappearance. They specifically reject the idea that Maura willingly fled to start a new life to avoid some credit card fraud charges she was facing. For her family, the idea that she would just abandon them and literally never reach out in 20 years, it's just not something they accept.
Moving to our final phase, Section 4, Modern Forensics and Open Leads, breathing new life into a cold case. So how do we actually do that for a 20-year-old mystery?
Well, the crucial point here is that technology has advanced light years since 2004. We've got 3 fascinating modern investigative steps that could completely re-examine the old evidence. First, analyzing those physical MapQuest printouts left in her car. Modern forensics can use something called printer steganography. These are tiny, basically invisible tracking dots left by printers to potentially identify the exact machine that printed those directions. Wild, right? Second, we can leverage those new 2024 FBI age progression models to crowdsource public identification. And third, potentially coordinating entirely new searches on those private properties that were previously restricted.
All of this leaves us with one final, massive question to ponder. Knowing the 15-minute window, the untouched diamond jewelry, the scent trail ending abruptly in the street, and the 2.5 feet of untouched snow, what do the clues in that black Saturn actually tell you? Are we looking at a tragic misadventure in the frozen woods, a highly calculated escape, or a crime of opportunity? And will the relentless push of modern forensics finally be the key that brings Maura Murray home? I encourage you to review these facts, look closely at the timeline, and analyze the evidence for yourself.